Jed's lost a bit of weight, hasn't he?
And he's got a facelift.
Let's go. So, I've got what it's called now. Similitude. So this is Enterprise. I've got no notes. So it's season 3. I think it's episode 10. After torturing animals in his lab, Doctor Phlox grows a duplicate trip from a giant flea, so he can harvest it for its organs for the real Trip, who's dying. That's this episode. Was it just me, or was he torturing animals at the beginning of that episode? Did you just see Phlox just really going for it?
He was dissecting or something, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Or was he cutting up for food? I don't know.
It looks a bit unnecessary to me. He was just doing experimentations on animals to make himself feel big, I think. Penfold, do you want to kick off with this one? Because you're Mr. Enterprise.
Oh, go on then. So,
actually, before you kick off though, Penfold, I am a bit disappointed in you because normally you wear the Enterprise.
I was going to, but it's really warm.
Yeah, it's really warm.
That's the only reason I didn't do it.
Yeah,
I actually got it out to wear it, and I thought, you know what, I can't be bothered. It's too warm. It's not worth it. You might guess it's one of my favourite episodes of Star Trek. It really is. There's a lot of heart in there. The dilemma, it's very similar to obviously the Tuvix dilemma.
Yeah.
But I think this is far more sophisticated because it obviously was an accident. This is made for real. They had to make this one, whereas Tuvix was an accident. So the order to make him was more stakes. He knew what he was doing, where that was a complete accident. So I feel it was set really well. I've got no complaints about this episode at all. It was obviously directed by Lever Burton. I felt the storyline was really, really good, really, really strong. I thought the actors that played younger Trips were spot on. I don't know how they cast them two. I thought they were really, really good. They matched them, especially the teenage one. I know he was in there for one scene, but I thought it was played really, really well. I genuinely felt for Sim right at the end. I get tears in my eyes. I think what it may help, you've got to be a fan, I think, for this one, really, to understand what's going on with the dilemma of the tension between him and T'Pol. I think that really needs a bit of background. If you're not into Enterprise, that might be a bit lost on you. And making Archer have no choice but to say, I'm taking it. I've got to do this. Again, throughout war, he hasn't got a choice. He's sat desperate. It needs Trip. Yeah. It would have been nice to have a follow-up episode at some point in Star Trek explaining why they never carried that on. Was it ethical dilemma, or was it a case of it just didn't work? The line that really always sticks to me, always gets me, was when Sim goes to Phlox and goes, "I've got my memories too, and you were an amazing father."
You made a damn good father. We're a damn good son.
That always gets me. I don't know why. I just feel it's really, really touching. It shows Phlox's real care inside, that he is a father. Has he got 10 kids or something with 4 wives? He's got quite a few. I can't fault it, and I find it really hard to find if you could really find. This is not really tricky, because you see a captain making a life or death situation where he hasn't got a choice, but he has to kill someone. Where you'll find other captains don't really have that experience, especially on screen, where they go, "Yeah, you're going to die, and I haven't got a choice." Janeway's one, it's just righting a wrong. I don't think she kills Tuvix. I'm on that side. She had to do what she had to do, tear him apart. It was an accident. But this is, you're going to die. I'm taking your organs and you're going to die. And it's heartbreaking. I really do find it heartbreaking.
It's interesting you say he's got no choice, because I can't help but think that he did have a choice. And his choice was, Trip obviously is going to die unless he gets, is it some brain material? I can't remember. So he needs something. And then Phlox is like, well, I can grow a clone that will basically, grow up and live and die within the space, live an entire lifetime in about 15 days. And I tell you what, Picard would never do that. Picard would have let Trip die and he'd be like, well, that's just, do you think he made the right decision then?
Massively. He's at war. He hasn't got a choice. They haven't got extra starships. Can't get the Excelsior to come and help back up. This is Enterprise on its own in the middle of the war with the Zundi. And he doesn't have a choice. It's almost like going back to the old ways. This is not Kirk. It's not Prime Directive. This is, I've got a choice. I need Trip. I need that piece. If I could save you, but I can't. But that's it. My orders are final. And I do like that scene where he was shooting to bring him in there. And I do believe him. I believe actually would have done that.
Yeah. you do see Archer as well in this episode. If you look at throughout the episode, one of the notes I made was by the end of it, Archer looks shit, right? It looks proper shit.
Yeah.
And you can see how this is taking a toll on him, because although he's made this tough decision, it's not one he wanted to make, and he's probably got internal conflict. Did he do the right thing or not? He's done something that is clearly, dodgy, ethically. And you can see throughout the episode he's unshaven, his hair's in the right state, and you can see him kind of falling apart throughout the episode. And I thought that was actually quite good, a little visual bit of storytelling within the episode, just to show that he didn't just make this decision on a whim. It's really really taken a toll on him, although by the next episode it's all forgotten about. But
it always is. But I also do like the interaction with T'Pol, where she's trying to avoid him because she clearly has feelings for Trip and she doesn't want to be a part of it. And that little kiss at the end, it's like, oh my god, no. She does like, but who does she like, Trip or Sim? Da, da, da. I really, it is in my top. I could quite happily watch and be very content. It's not a battle, action packed. It's a morality episode of what you could do by losing someone, or in this case, sacrificing someone for the greater good.
The yin to your yang, Mr. Penfold, sir. What a pile of dog shite. First and foremost, if this was any other crew member, that would never have happened. Right? Because he's his busy mate and his engineer. He created sentient life, then made him feel guilty about it so that he surrendered himself. Right? He deprived him of a good 7 days or 4 days or however many was left. That was just the whole moral complexity of it. Was I'm Archer. He did a Burnham. That's what he did. He did a bloody Burnham. He went, do you know what? I don't want my mate to die, so I'm going to create something, and then I'm going to rip chunks out of him, right, to save my busy mate. If this had been like a low-level crew member, someone on lower decks, would never have happened in a million years, because he's lost crew members before, right? There's been seriously ill crew members. He's never, ever done this. Phlox didn't even suggest it for anybody else from what we can see. In a court of law, that would be manslaughter. That would be manslaughter. He created... Well, you don't go out and have a baby and then kill him and get away with it, do you?
A baby, it's a clone. It's not real.
It's real, but
it is life form.
It is real.
Does it have a tax code and a national insurance number? No.
And I can't remember if Penfold alluded to this, but the reason why I wanted to bring him back probably was because he's one of his best mates. But
exactly,
it's because he was crucial to getting the ship out of that. Are they in a nebula? It's not a nebula, is it? The whole ship's getting coated in whatever it is. Crust.
Yeah, but they don't mention that coating until after Sim's created.
Oh, right, okay.
And it's actually Sim that gets them out of it.
True, but he needs was it Trip's memories, not Sim's memories, that got him out?
Well, either. It was Sim was the one that was alive and kicking and that came up with the idea.
We need Trip for the mission to get into the Zindi to stop the annihilation of the Earth.
Because he's the only person that could do it. They've got a ship full of crew, all highly trained.
No, I could feel he had no choice. I think being his best mate probably played a factor in it. But fundamentally, he needed his chief engineer at the scene to do the job.
The way he guilt trips him into it as well. He says he's gonna kill him one way or the other. What the fuck do you even do in a situation like that? You've no choice but to surrender.
I'll take whatever steps necessary to save him. Even if it means killing me. Even if it means killing you. You're not a murderer. Don't make me one.
And to know you're going to lay down on that bed and then the other bloke's going to get up and live and you're not. Just the whole morality of it. And I mean, this is still set in the future. So you would imagine morality as come on a few leaps. It's not like it is today where everyone's out for themselves.
There's no difference. I mean, if you're in the military, you are expendable and they will use you for stuff.
I just found the whole episode, A, uncomfortable because it's Enterprise, and B, because it just straight up create life and murder it for your best mate. Why didn't they, when they cloned him, keep him sedated all that time? You gave him a taste of life. You let him get on with everybody. You let him chip in. You gave him good experiences. And then you killed again.
He had to be at the same age, hadn't he?
Yeah.
Is that what it was about? So it was like they could have definitely incubated him until that age. And I thought the same as I was writing notes. I thought, well, that was definitely an option. But as Steve is saying, they did totally use him because they still needed him to fix the ship for them.
And when Archer turned around and said, no, you're not flying that shuttle.
I want to pilot one of the shuttle pods. That's out of the question.
It's my plan. I think I should have a say in how it's implemented. You want to make sure I'm around because you need part of my brain.
Yeah. That's part of it.
And it was just like, mate, you don't actually give a shit about Sim. You just don't want anything to happen.
Your property, not a person.
Yeah, by that point,
I
point, he was, though, and it was kind of understood. So it was obvious he wasn't going to let him go on the shuttle because he needed, if anything happened to him, this would have been for nothing anyway.
Yeah.
So.
A point you made there, Stephen, I didn't think about it, but now you've said it, I view this episode in a bit of a different light because, they could have, surely, bearing in mind all the advances they got compared to what we've got now, right? If he can grow a clone, then surely they could have, just induced a coma, just made sure he had the right nutrients go into his body so that he could, develop and grow. It's almost cruel to let him experience life knowing that you're going to kill him.
The truth of it was, though, because going back to Penfold's point, is the truth of it was they still needed him. And they still needed him even as a younger person because he was still, an engineer. And
I know, but when they first cloned him, they didn't realize he was going to somehow magically, which is have Trip's memories. They didn't know that.
Yeah, he was going to live for 15 days maximum, and that was it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
so to have done that, it did seem a bit cruel.
Exactly.
I thought they didn't expect it. They didn't expect it. My view is they didn't expect it to become who he was. His memories. I thought my opinion was they thought it'd be a clone, a blank canvas type thing, and they could do what they wanted. They didn't expect it to become this way because when he was a child reading, they were very surprised at his intelligence and his memories. It was obviously the idea is they've messed with something they shouldn't have, and it's kind of the consequences are live or die.
Whilst I understand that, right, and the whole it was a curveball that he had the memories. Either way, he was teaching him to read. They expected it to have sentience. It wasn't a case of it was going to get up and move around like Spock did in Spock's brain. It was going to get up. It was going to talk. It was going to, even at a rudimentary level, it was going to be a sentient life form. It was a clone.
I mean, they didn't know. I mean, technically, it's a sentient being, but they didn't know that it was going to have memories, and therefore,
not the memories,
No, but it's not possible. If something's going to, let's say a baby's going to get born and it's going to live its entire life within 15 days. It's not going to have this crazy accelerated learning, like reading books like Short Circuit or Data. Up until that point, the expectation of that child that was going to grow up would be it's going to get born. It's not going to learn stuff, right? Not at that rate. It's not going to learn how to read it. Not within 15 days. So it would have grown up to have a very undignified life because it would have basically been a 15-year-old newborn baby. Mentally, it wouldn't have had all that time to learn and grow and develop. So it was almost cruel to just to let it just be. To not induce that coma, to let it develop because they didn't know it was going to. The only natural expectation at that time that clone was produced is it's going to be a baby. It's not going to develop, within 15 days to being an intelligent blah 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 blah. It was just sheer luck. So actually, hang on. It turns out that human memories kept within its genome, which is a bit dodgy science, to be honest.
But then equally,
go on.
Phlox was teaching him to read, but what's the point if it's only about for 15 days?
Yeah, and it
was, it was like growing an organ. It wasn't like growing they were literally growing the organ to harvest it. That was all that's going to happen.
But he did say he wanted to keep it entertained. He wanted to keep it, stimulated. So obviously they realised actually the accelerated memory and learning, and they've obviously any human or any parental species would probably start having feelings for it. It kind of reminds me of the Hugh episode where Picard wants to use Hugh as a weapon, but he changed his mind when he meets it. Where I feel in this one, Archer said, that's the mission. We need that piece. We're going ahead with it. I think if Marcher was actually in that Hugh situation, he would have continued the mission. That was the mission, destroy the Borg.
I do get that, but I do think, and again, I didn't think this until Steve said it. So cheers, Steve. I do think that the more, if you're going to grow a clone for its organs, and it's only going to survive for, it's going to live a full life in 15 days, which means really by day 10 or 11, it's going to reach, Trip's age or whatever, then surely the only ethical thing to do once you've made the decision to grow that clone is we'll keep it in a induced coma so it's not aware of its own existence, because as far as we know at this point, it's just going to be a baby mentally until it dies, which isn't going to be very nice. It's not very dignified. Let's just keep this thing comfortable, not aware of who it is. We'll take out what we need. And then, Phlox can do whatever experiments he wants on it, then climb into its skin and walk around in it. I don't know. But, that's it feels like at that point, surely that's the only ethical way.
It would have made a boring episode.
Do that, It would have been a really terrible episode. Yeah.
Maybe they did. Maybe there's a deleted scene where it dies and someone runs in and goes, Captain, you could have done this. And gone, bollocks. Why didn't I think of that?
The moral wrongness of it all
that's what's good about it. It's so moralistic, completely different to what any Star Trek would get. That's what I love about it. It's so raw.
Did anybody like this episode apart from Penfold? I actually did. I really liked this episode.
I didn't.
I picked it.
Well, no, I didn't. So anyway, from the opening scene, I'll say I go into this though. I've only seen this episode once, possibly twice, and it is an episode where you go into something and it's like, what the fuck is happening? I feel like it's already on the serious mission that I don't know about, and obviously it is. So there is that from this episode. You do need a bit of foreknowledge to understand where you are in it, because again, Archer's attitude is like fucking off and disgusted, and I don't like Archer particularly anyway, but he's so unlikable and harsh. And the background to that is they're not more, and he's actually on his own and blah blah, but he's still an unlikable character to me. So the opening scene is a shock, because you were like, oh, this Trip is dead, and they're gonna fucking bury him in space. And then I tell you what, the Enterprise has made me the absolute fastest remote finder in the universe, because I am amazing at finding the remote, pressing the button before that fucking sound starts at the beginning and the end,
It's got the beat to it and everything though. This is the jazzy version.
It's literally, I'm amazed because it's automatic as well. I'm literally, my hand goes zip zip, and it's like, fuck that shit.
It's been a long road.
The reason why what put me off Enterprise to start with was the music. I hate that opening theme so much that I cannot watch this. It put me off, which is, I suppose, a silly reason, but I really enjoy it now.
When there's a but, what it happened was it brainwashed you. End of.
Yeah, you listen to it. I know it's awful, but I can't help but love it.
You're not quick enough to find your fucking remote. Look, it's you, ready.
Where do you see the fingers?
Please, we really want to see those fingers.
Okay, sorry, right. So but what happens after I'd skipped that bit was you get this 2 weeks earlier, so you immediately know, as a Star Trek fan, you immediately know, okay, he's not dead. So again, I've said Archer's unlikable at all times, but especially in this episode. The question was really, should you create a life form which is sentient just to harvest it? Basically, that's the crux of it. And obviously the answer is no, you shouldn't do that. And I think even in Archer's situation, I understand you coming from a military point of view, which I don't have a perspective on, but it's not right. He's got 15 days, this sentient thing. We're going to take a bit out of him to save Trip. Is that okay to do? I even thought it was weird Phlox said that.
But I'm obligated to provide you with all available options.
So I thought that Phlox was definitely at fault as well for part of this. So it was like Archer's decision, but it was Phlox that gave him the idea.
But I'm obligated to provide you with all available options.
And so as a doctor, and this is the first time this thing has been done with a human, why wouldn't he consider that, I can definitely save him from this operation, so Sim will be alive, we'll save Trip, and then Sim will carry on living for his 15 days. Well, he didn't know that. And as a doctor, why wouldn't he have considered the fact that might not be possible? You know what I mean? So I thought Phlox was definitely a fault in this, which I like Phlox as a character, but I thought in this episode, he didn't do himself any justice, morally or as a character to like. You said the opposite to what I'm going to say, Penfold, which is very unusual. You thought Tuvix was not as good as this, and I think the opposite 100%. I think Tuvix did it in a way where, I know the only difference really, this was created on purpose. Tuvix wasn't, fine. But when you break it down, morally it got into the same story. Well, they did it better. They were able to used the Tuvix character a lot better than they used the Sim character in this. And they were able to get the crew's interaction with that character much better, I feel, than they did in this episode. Because any crew interaction with Sim felt like just part of, okay, when he was young, it was like, oh, hello, and showing him round and letting him play with the ship. And then he was a teenager already helping out, you know what I mean, with the crew. So there wasn't anything that, I don't know, give me any crew interaction with him. The only one that did it, hate saying this because it's Malcolm.
Do these memories just come to you?
He's growing up that quickly, and actually intelligence-wise he is as well. Well, he would have pushed back a lot more. He wouldn't have just gone, oh, okay, then what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And then I'll go and fix things for you. He would have started to be a bit more aware of his situation. And then it's a natural thing, actually, I feel, realistically, that you would push back at that. And
he
you also
thought
never
he was going to
saw...
survive, didn't he? They all thought they were going to
15
survive.
days, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess if you consider that, maybe. But I still feel as a, he was a teenager at one point. There's nothing, teenagers are not people that just go and do what they're told. But there was none of that. They didn't. No, but they did. What I'm saying is, they didn't explore anything of the Sim character.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
They didn't explore how the crew could start to learn to like him, even, or give that element to the story, which Tuvix does. So realistically, I thought he would have pushed. But I also thought that maybe the crew, then, we hadn't seen personal interactions with them. But you would have expected as well, part of the storyline should have been the crew creating a bond with him so that they had some pushback on this decision as well when it came to it. He will die. It just bypassed that element of what could have been the story. I've written down what Steve said and then made you think that he would definitely be kept unconscious. Once the decision is made, you would never let it, wake up, live a little bit. You would just use it for what you've decided to harvest, this thing you've created. Fine, just do that then. Yeah, so basically, I think the main thing I'm getting from what I've written and what I thought of the episode was it didn't concentrate on what was the core of the storyline for me. If it did, it did bring a bit of emotion in really easily. Because even I tear up really easily, but even I not being really connected to these characters, which is another reason I've got a different perspective. If I was a love of Trip, you know what I mean, as a character, then I would have felt a lot. But I'm not, so I haven't got that element. And they were easily able to write in that thing with the Phlox at the end, and actually his speech at the end was really quite emotional. So they kind of got that right. But then I thought it was super interesting because Trip gets saved and wakes up and goes to a funeral that he's like, well, what the fuck is that? It's such a head fuck for Trip because he's living forward now. All the crew knew him and had an interaction with him, but he never did. And like you've mentioned, I didn't know this, so I didn't know in the beginning scene, which I thought was uncomfortable, Trip and T'Pol in the room, and he's just fucking staring at her tits, basically. I didn't know if they were together or not at the point, because I thought if they are, it's okay, but I didn't know if they were, and I thought they weren't, if I was honest, because it was done in that kind of way. And when you learn at the end, I thought it was interesting, because it's like, Sim is the first Trip to kiss her, and now she's living forward, knowing that Trip likes her, but Trip doesn't know, even though it was Trip that almost told her about his feelings, right? So, poor Trip.
It's interesting that you said about, that you kind of felt not emotionally connected to this, really, apart from that speech with Phlox at the end. Because Trip, and so I love Trip, is one of my favourite characters, and I love T'Pol. And their relationship is one of my favourite things in all of Star Trek, which I know you probably find is really, I think you find their relationship a bit naff.
Sickening, yes.
So I love that, but I can understand that if you pick this episode out of just thin air, it's like, well, where are we at the minute with the T'Pol Trip thing? Are they together or not? Because they look like they're together, but they're not. When that scene was on, I was watching, my missus was sat next to me, and she said to me, T'Pol's pajamas are just ridiculous. They're halfway up her back and halfway down her ass.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. As in,
that is a good point.
You've got to be emotionally attached. Definitely.
Yeah, because I am. So I feel like I got a lot out of this episode. Go on, Jed.
Oh,
I didn't like it. I can tell this from that.
It's not my favourite Enterprise. It screamed too much of Tuvix. But this one, it's like they asked me to carry on rewinding it as Phlox was basically injecting Trip's blood into an oversized testicle. That's what it looked
No,
like.
I said it looked like wet noodles.
Yeah, you said it looked like wet noodles. I thought it looked like a fucking overlarge testicle. You know, Doctor Phloxenstein, he's stabbing everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that name.
It came across
That's
as a bit
awesome.
psychopathic, Phlox, in this episode. He just wanted to experiment on anything, and it dropped into his lap.
I was expecting him to. I was expecting him to stand there going, "It lives, Captain, it lives," but he didn't. So I haven't got a major problem with it. It's just not one of my favourite Enterprise. I don't mind Enterprise, but it's not one of my favourite. It just felt like a filler episode to me. We've got this testicle in the lab. Let's do something with it. Let's kill Trip. And I agree with you, though. He should have been in a juice coma. D read a book years ago, and it was from a guy called, what was his name? Michael Marshall Smith. And it was called Spares. It screams also of The Island. I think The Island was based off Spares. But this, I was 45 minutes I'll never get back. I watched it, I tuned in, and that was it.
Halfway through it, when he was trying to crack on with T'Pol, I started imagining what would I do if Jed had a clone. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not following the bloody plot. I ain't got a clue what's going on. He had to put on 2 more episodes of Enterprise after that to catch up with why Trip's sister's dead, why he said that about his sister, why they're in the Expanse and all this and everything. So I have to go back to season 2 and before, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before any of this ever happened.
So what would you have done with Jed's clone then?
We would have had a fantastic board game. Frustration. Because I'm sick of frustration.
And when one's tired and the other one's not. One's
this
asleep.
is one really weird now. I'm sorry, Penfold. I do like Enterprise, but this was hard. It was hard. A lot of Enterprise are good. They are good.
We just haven't watched them yet, then.
You've not seen it.
That's brutal.
Wow. I didn't know this one.
North Star.
When
I watched North Star, I was like this. The first time, because I watch them all the way through, even if they're shit. Because it's Star Trek.
Yeah, I agree.
I watched the one where she gets it off with a ghost. And that was bad enough. But
you know what? I think I'd even take that episode over this one.
Oh, no, Steve, you need your eyes pulling out.
I know you're lying now. You're lying.
We will do that at some point. We'll definitely do that episode now because it always gets brought
I
up.
missed it.
He'd watched the one with Crusher shagging that ghost.
Then this one.
I wouldn't watch that.
I don't believe you. Don't believe you.
I don't believe you.
But that's all I've got to say. Mate. So, over to Dean. Wanting to know who there's India.
I didn't have a clue what was going on in this episode. I haven't got a clue. All I've got is questions like, what's his Indy? What mission are they on? What's the Expanse? Why are they there? What happened to his sister? Why is Archer being in a cold and feeling bastard all the way through it? I normally like Scott Bakula. I normally like Scott Bakula in everything he does. But this episode, I just thought, you're a twat. You're horrible.
Well, Emma's a big fan of Enterprise, and her comment on this episode, I don't think, but she loves this episode, her favourite, but she said this is the episode that makes her hate Archer from this moment on. Exactly. She hates Archer.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see why, because and she is in love with Trip and wanted 2 of him, so you know what I mean.
I was going to say she's a massive Trip fan, but that's probably not true. She's a massive Connor Trinier fan, isn't she?
Yeah. Can you imagine? I want to be in the queue with her when she gets a photo with her. I want to experience that.
That's good episode writing as well, though.
Yeah, that's what he's going to do to you, Steve, if you carry on slagging off Enterprise. But at least when the consoles blew up in this one, they weren't hit by rubble.
Yeah,
I thought they were.
I was waiting for that.
No, they were, but there was plenty of spark.
What I want to know is, when she kissed Sim, was it kissing Sim for Sim? Because she knew what he was about to do. He was about to die. He was about to give Trip his life back. Because she's never expressed any feelings from what I can gather before this. Was she kissing Sim because she wanted to kiss him because he was the only one that had told her how he felt? Whether it's his feelings. He says, I don't know whether these are his feelings or they're mine.
This is much more serious the way I feel about you. What's driving me crazy is I don't know if these feelings are mine.
And then she kissed him. She kissed him.
She kissed Sim, then she realised she wanted more.
It was try before you buy with Trip, weren't it?
Yeah,
effectively.
I get that.
But that's the good thing about this episode. That you don't know, do you? And we're now discussing it. There's loads of things in this that what if? Why did you do this? You know, and that, to me, that's the mark of a good Star Trek episode. When this episode started, obviously it starts with Trip's funeral, and the first time I saw it, I must have thought, "What the fuck?" You know what I mean? I mean, obviously in the final episode of Enterprise, they kind of revisit some of that shitness. But yeah, so it starts with Trip's funeral, and it is a bit of a shock. It's a shock start. But like Brush says, the minute it says like 2 weeks previous or something, you know, oh, it's going to be all right. That's not really going to be Trip, or there'll be some alternate whatever timeline or something. When I was talking, and I mentioned to Paul's pajamas earlier on, me and my wife were having a joke about it, and we were like, because it did look like the director had said to her, well, "Can you just press them pajama bottoms into your ass crack a bit more, please?" Honestly, it was just she was really, really munching on those. And then after doing the put rub thing,
to the left.
Oh, sorry.
It's really obvious when she basically puts herself in that position where she puts her tits in Trip's face, and Trip says something along the lines of, "Oh, I could really get used to this."
We haven't gotten to the more challenging postures.
I'm always up for a challenge.
It just made me laugh, and it's one of those where it's so transparent, you know, with T'Pol what they were doing, but I couldn't help but laugh. Hey, Chris is there, milk tray man. So after that, one thing I really like, I love Trip, right? It's one of my favorite characters. Is he's talking about how he loves the sound of the engine. It's it's a beautiful sound, that. And I love the fact that Trip is a real engineer. You know, he's not just there for the job. He's listening to the engine. And there's a bit as well where, I think it's near the beginning of the episode, where there's a view screen and he's doing something, probably something to do with harmonics or something, I don't know. And he doesn't even look at the screen, and he knows that everything's all right because he's just listening to the sound of the engine.
Damn. That's a beautiful sound.
And we get that from Sim as well, because I think Sim says something quite similar. When there was the explosion, I did feel that there was rocks and rubble. I remember watching it thinking, there's definite rocks. You saw this like stuff, you know, fly up in the air. But anyway, I thought there was. I do think that the concept behind
the plasma
this,
conduit, Dan.
Was it the plasma conduit? Was it full of rocks?
Insulation.
Always full of rocks, man.
I do think the core concept is brilliant. Right, the whole thing with the clone. I mean, I know since Steve mentioned the fact that, well, why didn't they just put the clone in an induced coma from the start? I'm like, well, actually, yeah, that does make much more sense. Not much of an episode, but it makes more sense. But I do think the concept is brilliant. Now, I'm not saying it's morally correct, because I do like that moral play with this episode. It feels like it goes back to TOS when you had that, you know, that moral question of the episode. And that's the moral question behind this. You know, was he right to do what he did? We kind of get to see it from all angles. We get to see it from Archer's perspective. We get to see it from Sim's perspective. We don't really see it from Trip's perspective because he's not really in the picture at this stage. Getting away from T'Pol's pajamas, halfway up her back, halfway down her ass. I really like the jumpsuit she's wearing there. She wears a purple one to start with and then a blue one. And they're just really, really great costumes. Not like overly sexualized. She hasn't got like a boobs out or anything like that. They're just really superb costumes. And I did once read an interview with Jolene Blalock that she loved some of the costumes, and I think there's a lot of budget spent on those, but it looks amazing. And it's even got like this great like little collar thing. It's got these cuffs and these things on the shoulders that look really sci-fi, you know, like kind of 1950s sci-fi, but I just thought that they looked amazing and really bright as well. But I have got a comment here about Floxenstein saying that he is like some mad scientist. He just seems to be, in this episode, he just seems to be desperate to experiment on stuff. Do you know what I mean? I read a news story today about some woman who has been jailed because she led a monkey torture ring, right? Where there were all these monkey torture videos uploaded online and people would pay for them. Proper sick bastard. And I thought, Phlox would be into that. In this episode, Phlox would be into that because he's just desperate to just, like, experiment with stuff, and that's why he's one who suggests it to Archer. You know, we can do this. I can grow a clone. It'll only live for 15 days, but I can grow a clone. And I do think the treatment of Sim is awful. I just think he's not treated with respect. There's that bit as well where he's in Trip's quarters and Archer goes in and he's like, no. like he's a dog, right? Jumping up on furniture. Yes, this isn't yours. Get out. This isn't your quarters.
How long have you been staying here? These are Trip's quarters.
He could have maybe said, listen, I appreciate this must be really quite strange for you. You know, this must feel like your quarters. But no, it's just like, get out. What are you doing in here? I've already mentioned the fact that Archer looks shit by the end of this episode, which I do like. That kind of like that gradual descent into mania, really, because as he's starting to question is what he's done correct. I do think it is very emotional at the end, and I'm with Penfold. I do think it's a bit of a tearjerker at the end because Sim's dying, and it's not just Sim dying; it is Trip who's dying, right? And he's aware of his own death, and he has that little speech with Phlox where he says, "You're a great dad," and he says, "Oh, you're a great son," and all that. And one thing I thought was amazing throughout the episode is the score. The music is brilliant through this episode. Now, I did want to Google the music for this episode to see if there was something different or something new, and I haven't had time to do it. But I always love listening to the music in Star Trek.
It won an Emmy.
Did it win an Emmy? This? Oh, yeah. So was this specific to this episode then? This music?
It looks like it. I've not read too much about it, but yeah, it won an Emmy for the music, the score.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It's a proper filmic score, this, and like I said before, in the Doomsday Machine and things like that, it adds so much to an episode. It really does when you get that something you've not heard before, and it's designed for the episode, so all the kind of like musical cues kind of tie in with the the emotional cues, and I really really like that. And that's all I've got to say. So yeah, I really like this episode. I think it's a real thought-provoking episode. If I were teaching like an ethics and philosophy class, this is the sort of thing I would put on for the kids. This one and the TNG episode with Moriarty, because I do think it just opens up so many discussions, and nobody's right and nobody's wrong. Well, some people will be right and some people will definitely be wrong. But do you know what I mean? There's so many different ways to look at this. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few and all that. And I just think it's one of those episodes where you could talk for hours and have a few beers with this and probably get quite passionate about it as well. I think you could get some really good arguments out of this episode. Oh, yeah. But I did. To Paul, by the way, the kiss, when she does kiss Sim, I thought it was a great kiss. I really, really buy into Paul and Trip's relationship. Massively invested in that. I think it's absolutely superb. And when she does kiss him, I thought that's a really good. It wasn't a little peck. She really went for that, and I thought it was a really good. As far as on-screen kisses go, I thought that was really, really good. That was a good kiss.
I can't actually comment because I didn't do the.
Yes.
I just wanted to come in and say,
lucky bastard.
Well, do you know what? It means even more that you've joined us today, then, because you just joined us to say hello and to be with us, and that means even more.
I wanted to see some friendly faces and say hello.
Did you watch this one, John Joe?
I did, yes. It's an Enterprise one, so I watched it while I was at work. I mean, I watched it thoroughly in my own time. It was. I really enjoy this episode because it's proper Trek to me. Is this? I'm not saying Enterprise isn't proper.
Oh, John Joe's Wi-Fi shit. John Joe, you keep cutting out.
I do remember watching this when I was younger.
John Joe. I don't know if you can hear me, John Joe, but
which is
then.
John Joe.
John Joe.
We can't hear you properly, mate.
Can't hear you at all.
Fuck.
John Joe, your internet shit.
Can anybody actually hear me?
We can hear you now, yeah.
I distinctly remember this episode from when it first aired, when I was a child, when I was a kid. Unlike you and Brush, I wasn't old enough to realise that just because it said 2 weeks earlier meant that Trip was going to survive. Trip was one of my favourite characters, obviously. I was like, no, you haven't. No, you absolutely have not. I distinctly remember being absolutely gutted.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Floxenstein said, I've got this creature. I was like, here we go. But this is like proper Trek to me because it provokes thought and discussion between the two people that watch it, or however many people are watching it. Do you want to save this critical person on this critical mission where the entire billions of people are at stake, and he's a key part of it? But to do that, you have to break probably every sound moral ideal that you've got in your in your head, and I think that's a really interesting call. And I said I like Phlox. I've always liked Phlox. I'd like him to be my doctor because if I need a bit of a brain, he can grow whatever he wants from his labs. I'll worry about the moral consequences later. But no, I really enjoyed the episode. I really like the added dramatics of the diamagnetic stuff sticking to the hull and making the ship heavier and dampening the fields. I like the interaction between T'Pol and Trip. I actually forgot how good of an episode this is. I think it's good. I like the interactions and the non-interaction, specifically the avoidance from T'Pol. It shows that she has feelings even if she doesn't want to admit it. I love Floxenstein. He is proper mad scientist in this, and I kind of like seeing this side of him. To be honest with you, it's a bit like, oh wow, yeah, no, this guy's not human. He's just pulled a random creature off and grown a human. What is going on? And I like that. But specifically, I like the episode because it provokes a very good conversation of should you, shouldn't you? Should you let him die and then maybe Earth falls, or should you carry on and for the greater good? But what implications does that have? And I imagine if that, not that this could ever happen in real life, although I suppose a clone is a possibility. But that must live with you for a long time because that is not an easy decision to make. And I don't think Enterprise does a good enough job of portraying that later. I think it should. It does with Picard, and his Borg experience. But Enterprise comes a lot across cloning in the later season, and it doesn't really affect him. And I feel like it absolutely should. The relationship between
John Joe,
saying
John Joe,
yes.
You broke up again there, but just like last time you broke up, it's just usually about you said same with, and then it broke up. You're on about relationships.
Yeah, same with Trip and Archer's relationship. It should have strained that a little bit when in the next few episodes where they were like, "What the hell did you do?" Like, or at least give his opinion. No, you should have let me die, or no, you did the right thing. Thank you, it can't have been easy, sort of thing. But it was a good episode because that's proper Trek to me. Is that it's a bit like Measure of a Man and all that sort of episodes. I do like those sort of episodes, even though they're not very, special effectsy, which I love. And it's one that perhaps I would have put on my list of episodes to show new Treks because if they like that and they like that thought experiment that goes on, then they're going to like Trek. And the flashy bits in the middle are just a bonus.
One thing you said there when you were on about, you mentioned Measure of a Man. I've never really thought about this and compared it to Measure of a Man. And although I think Measure of a Man is a superior episode, but I think that's top tier Trek anyway, I do think that thematically this does fit in well with it because it is all about, what value do we give life? When is something a commodity and when is something an actual living thing with rights? John, you also mentioned the hull and all that stuff growing on it. I briefly mentioned that. I just referred to it as a crust, but that was a big part of this episode. It's one that we haven't really mentioned, but it was a really interesting aspect of the episode because we got to see something we haven't really seen before. I think Voyager gets something similar, if I remember correctly. There is something attaching itself to the ship. I can't quite remember now. It might be a living thing. It's like lichen. But I just thought that was quite an interesting concept, the fact that it's constantly getting covered in this stuff. And then from the inside of the ship, you can see it on the windows. And I thought that was a nice touch. When they're talking, you can't see, the twinkling stars. You just see that crust. You like hard sci-fi, John, right? You like proper science in your Star Trek, and I like that. Did it not irk you the fact that this clone had his memories and Phlox, it's like a throwaway line, oh, well, we've learned something new about the human genetic, you know what I mean? I was like, no, come on. I mean, I let him get away with it, but it did feel like a bit of a leap that.
Yes.
If there'd have been some other process where they got his memories, maybe, if they're like, oh, well, I can hook his brain up to his brain and maybe we can, so then he can help with the situation we're in. But yeah, it just seemed like a bit of a jump.
No, I fully agree. Yeah,
it would have been good if Sim landed on the Genesis planet. Maybe that's how we get Trip back.
The fire.
Off.
Sorry. I interrupted there, Steve.
Where did that come from? Fire what?
The fire. I just remembered something set on fire at the side of T'Pol on the bridge. And I'm sorry, Dan, you probably have to find this for the edit now. But it appears like nothing is on fire. Like the floor is on fire. There's just a random fire at the side of a face coming up from the floor. It makes no fucking sense whatsoever. Sorry, editing, Dan. It makes no sense whatsoever.
With Floxenstein.
Yeah. I love Floxenstein. That's a great name. That's going on the thumbnail for this.